stand up. I love doing this every single month. As you know, if you're new here, we do this every single month on the first Monday of the month. And it's a little space that we carve out on the internet to allow you to ask any questions, to get live feedback. You know, a lot of times people go live and you don't get to ask them a question, they're just talking. Well, we're not like that, right? We let you ask questions and we answer the questions as much as I can. And other people on the call also can chime in. So it's a great little community we've built here, just talking to each other and helping each other to grow in our career. So let's start with where you guys are from. Put in the chat where you're from. Let me see what you guys have been saying over here. Kenya, yeah. Nigeria, welcome, welcome. You know, I have a lot of people from Nigeria. I'm so happy and proud of my Nigerians. When Nigerians come to the US, they don't come to play. Okay? They come to the US and they're making it, right? And I'm Jamaican, so we do the same too. A lot of immigrants have been very successful as business analysts, and I find the Nigerians have stood out also. Los Angeles, California, very good. Annie from Houston, welcome Annie. Chantal, nice to see you. And I'm seeing you on the camera too, so that's great. I see Debbie also, welcome Debbie. We've got Ontario in the house, Canada. Is Canada having a holiday today? Are you guys celebrating a day today? I think there was something. Yeah, what's it called? What was the name of the holiday? Oh my goodness. If you remember, put it in the chat. Civic holiday. Civic holiday, is it? Civic holiday? Okay. Yeah, I had some friends in Canada and they were like, oh, they were celebrating today. I was like, wow, really? Because I work with people from Quebec. So we were at work. So I'm like, well, why didn't I get the day off then? It turns out it's only everywhere else except Quebec is having this holiday. So you guys are, I'm just really unlucky. All right, New York, Essie, welcome Essie. All right, guys, thank you for being here. And if anybody on the live want to put where they're from, London, awesome. Welcome Marie from London, appreciate you. Thank you for being here with us. All right, so what do we normally do here when we hang out together? So we typically talk about business analysis, right? But today in particular, we're going to talk first about people who are in the job hunt, like what's going on out there? How are you guys feeling? What is the job market looking like since last time we spoke last month? Then we're going to talk about those who already have a job and maybe you have a project and you might be, struggling with something in the project, or even how you work. For those who haven't worked as a BA before, I'll be more than willing to help you with any questions on that front. And then we'll just have open questions. I have an idea board that Joshua will put in the chat. I don't think he put it in the chat yet. But I have an idea board that is a place where you can put your questions in case you don't want to speak up. But I encourage you, if you're on the live or you haven't joined, we are having the meeting also on Google Meet. So you can join the Google Meet and you can just voice your questions. We don't mind you talking to us directly. That's good. All right, but before I get into that, I wanted to tell you something that I learned this month from the last time we spoke. So I didn't know that there was actually AI bots out here interviewing people. Did y'all know that? Did y'all know that the employers are actually hiring AI bots to interview you? Like, I was blown away. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then to have the nerve to tell the candidate that they cannot use the AI to answer. If you give me an AI bot, I record, like, the thing is listening to me and responding. It's very conversational. So I'm not saying it understands what you said, but it's a bot. So if you're employing an AI bot to screen me, then I should be able to go chat GPT my answer and give it back to you. Both of us in the game. We both play the same game. I was so blown away. And the nerve, the one I watched was, there was a guy being interviewed by the bot and he paused and went to go check on ChatGPT or something. And they were trying to say that that was kind of fraudulent and, there was a problem with that. But I don't think it's fair. I think if you are using you're not hiring a person to interview me, you're using the bot. So I can use the bot too. And I also think that you should use whatever tool you can use to help you, because in the real job, if you can use the tool to do your job better, why wouldn't you? Why would you force yourself to do, like when I was going to school, and I'm going to date myself here, we used to have calculators, right? And they used to tell us, you need to learn these numbers because you won't always have a calculator. Well, it turned out to be wrong, right? We always have a calculator. Actually, we have one in our hands right now. We have a phone. We don't really, I mean, it's good to know how to do basic math. That's without saying. But we didn't need to memorize all the things you were taught to memorize, because what we need to know is how to use the information, not to actually do all the manual steps. So if it's the same thing, if we can use the AI to help us to get further along, I think we should. So that was interesting. So you guys, as you're going into the interviewing world, this is what you're going to be facing with. Bots. Okay, bots are interviewing you now, and employers are totally okay with this. Other thing that I've noticed since the last time I spoke with you is not only the prevalence of AI in everything now. It's in my organization, we had to do a training. You guys know I work in banking, and you have to keep up with certain certificates, and you got to do these trainings and all this stuff. So I was doing one of these, recommended or obligatory training, and I'm a night owl, right? I'll wake up late at night to do stuff when it's quiet. There's nobody around, 3 a.m. That's when my brain just kind of like ideas flow. I feel like I'm in a different world, right? So I do the best work when it's quiet and I don't have no distraction. No daughters coming, mom, 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 somebody in my ear so I can do what I need to do. So I wake up early one morning, and in my I call it my genius zone, where I can really think. And I pull my laptop up. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna do this little training I have to do to keep my certificate and move on from it. Little did I know that the training required you to have your camera on. It required you to have give it access to your browser, and you cannot switch between tabs. It's gonna check what you're doing, and you have to be looking at it the whole time. And I was like, why would you do that? Why would you insist that I'm staring at the screen the whole time and I cannot switch tabs? You have to make sure I'm basically, I want to make sure you're the one answering it and you're not getting answers from other places. Well, I could have had my phone, but then you see me on the camera. So I guess that's probably have to keep the phone at at arm's length where you can't see it. But I thought to myself, how useful is that? It's not like I'm trying to get a job. I already have a job. Right? And actually, what I know is more than what you have on the thing, on the training document. I actually know more than you're trying to test me for. And so I felt like it was so mean. I felt like employers now, in a way, they're employing too much technology, I would say. And I don't know what the problem they're trying to solve for. Is it fraud? If it's fraud, then you already hired the person and they're already there. So what are you really solving for? So there was a lot of technology that's just been thrust on us in every direction that we are in now, that some of it seems onerous and some of it feels like, I don't know why we're doing it this way. Human interaction, and even sometimes a little bit of trust between your employees, and just the way that you interact with them is needed just to have good communication and good work culture. So I'm just giving you some of those feedback that I have seen, and I was like, I think it's because of the AI. What we're finding is people are just going to start trusting the AI more than they trust humans. I mean, I understand that people can disappoint you, and people are, different people do different things. But the level of distrust between the human and the AI is getting wider. People would rather talk to an AI boyfriend. Right? People are in love with their AI boyfriends and AI girlfriends. Like, this is where we're at right now. They don't even want to talk to a real human. I'm sorry, but this is where we're at. And it's weird because it creeps over into the work world too, where they trust the AI more than they trust the employee. And so it's not getting any better. I don't know if there's any solution right now, actually. I think it's just going to keep growing and getting more and more extreme. But I think it's a tool, right? It's a tool that is here to stay. The toothpaste is not going back in the tube. And we have to figure out how we can make the best use of the tool. My organization has done an incredible job of trying to get AI ingrained in how we work, right? So we have a lot of documentation, for example, on our Confluence pages, SharePoint, all this different stuff, and we've been able to pull together. So because I work in banking, I work with different banks. You can't use ChatGPT in any of these environments because the data is not public. You don't want to expose banking data to the open web, etc. So we cannot use ChatGPT on the job. But they have created a kind of an interface that allows you to ask questions that you typically need to ask a manager or somebody who's deep in some tech field somewhere, like a database administrator, a backend developer. Those kind of really intricate questions that may have been documented somewhere on our SharePoint, somewhere on our Confluence page. Now we have this tool that you can go ask it. Hey, what is the field that we need for such and such? And it goes and scours all these documents and gives us the answer. So now I don't have to be chasing down Ed, right? Ed from HR, or chasing down some IT person who is like hard to get to because they're stuck in their office with their head glued to the computer. I can get the answer once it's documented. I can get it from this we call it Askio, which is like a chat GPT internally to us. So the way that we're working is just becoming much more smart. And it is for us to be using it to our advantage. So we don't need low-level things anymore. We're no longer at this level, at the basic level. So even when you watch my videos and I train you about how to do things, it's for you to know how it's supposed to be done. But trust and believe there will be an AI tool out there to do it for you. But they're not going to give you the analysis. Where you're going to be instrumental is how you can take just the bare bones and be able to impose on it or draw from it your insights that's going to be helpful. So you just have to start working smarter, right? You're going to have to start working smarter. So that is where I see a lot of what we're doing going. Like, for example, I just did a series this morning and last week on process flow diagrams. So we were working on process flow diagrams at the Back Office Club. You guys know I have this membership program where we train business analysts and they get real world examples and they learn from real case studies, and we have a blast actually every week. We have stand-ups, we talk to each other, we help each other. You have an interview question, you can show up, we talk about it with you, we try to help you get the jobs, stuff like that. So we are talking about process flows, and I've released some new videos on that. But really and truly, you don't have to struggle with drawing these lines and figuring out how to put the process flow steps in there, because an AI can do that for you. We've got Mermaid AI can draw the whole thing for you. We've got Copilot can do it for you. So what is your value as a BA? If the diagrams can be done for you, the user stories can be done for you, right? So what is your value? Your value is to make sure you're kind of like going to be able to do 10x more work, right? So you can write way more user stories at once than you could before, and you can deliver the things. What could have taken you a week to churn out a BRD can take you now, I don't know, a day, 2 days. So now you can turn the BRDs out faster. And then you can spend more time in actual human conversation, confirming what needs to be there and reviewing the document that you've been able to generate with the help of the AI. So you're just going to be working faster, better, more efficient, doing much more. Now, do they need as much BAs as they would have without the AI? That is yet to be seen. Because I don't see a BA conducting a full stakeholder interview. I don't see an AI BA, that is. Because you need the human interaction. You need to understand the context that the person is talking about. You need to understand a follow-up question would be appropriate for this. The AI can do a good enough job, I think, if it's like an audio AI, that's going to ask a question out loud, but it's just not the same interaction. And I don't think that companies want to take that chance yet. I think where they're trying to get more BAs to work with AI is in writing documentation faster, designing these process flow diagrams faster, and whatever artifact that we create to make it, to do it better, faster, more efficiently, so that we can do the real work, which is talk to people, show them, discuss, get feedback, get requirements, and help the development teams to create what we're creating. So a lot of changes in every part of our work, from our interviewing, from our documentation, from the way we communicate, And the words that we're using, our lingo, our terms are also changing, because now we're talking about being able to have a better prompt and da da da. Like, we never used to use those words before. Like, that was not a part of our lexicon. Now it is. So I'm just encouraging you that don't be overwhelmed though. Don't be overwhelmed with so much different tools. I don't know which one to use. Right now, we're still using basics tools, Word. And Word right now, Microsoft, at least Microsoft 365 has Copilot kind of ingrained in it anyway. So it's right there. If you're using Google, you got Gemini. So you don't have to be overwhelmed. The tools are right in front of you now. You don't have to search for them. You just have to learn how to do the job that you're doing much more efficiently and smart, and make sure that you are keeping up in a way with where the industry is going. So you can be, as the world turns, you can just be in the corner turning with it. Somebody told me that in 2010, I'd like to tell this story because maybe nobody believed me, so I'll keep saying it till you believe me. So in 2010, I was enjoying my nice little island life in Jamaica, right? I'm just living by the beach, think I'm going to become a beach bum or something like that. No. I always was working. I'm just kidding. But, I was in Jamaica. And I remember there was this old guy that I always like to talk to old people. I don't know why. When I was 16, I used to talk to this guy as a father figure. He was like 85. And he would tell me all the stories about the community I grew up in and all the people that were there and who died and where the land came from. I just love talking to old people because they're at the end of their life and they just want to dump everything they know on me. And I felt like I was just learning faster because I was talking to people who are much more experienced. So there's this other old guy I used to talk to. He was more like a mentor. He would teach me about like computers, but not in, I did a computer degree already, so I know computer, but he would teach me about what's happening next. For some reason, he just knew where the world was going next. And he told me, hey, it's gonna all be about apps. It's gonna be app everywhere. I'm like, what are you talking about? Because I'm in Jamaica, I didn't even know nothing about apps at the time. I was still looking at websites. He's like, no, it's gonna be mobile apps. An app for this, an app for that. He's like, you know what? They're gonna create an app to turn down the sun. And I laughed him out of the place. I laughed at him. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is ridiculous. He's like, we're gonna create an app to turn down the sun. You're too hot in Jamaica, just turn it down. I thought it was crazy. But you know what? It may not have been there yet, but it could happen. It could happen. I don't know how, but it could happen. I'm still holding out faith. But the point is, he would always tell me about how to know what's coming next. And I always figured out, like, I was confused, like, how do you know this stuff? Are you like on the dark web? Like, what are you doing? He's like, Karaleise, you never know what somebody on their toilet is building. They're sitting on their toilet building cool stuff and you don't know. So he would always encourage me to just stay abreast. And for whatever reason, he always was right. He told me about the apps that was right. He told me about how people would be more like social coming up. Like you'd be, at the time we didn't have, like, Facebook was probably around and YouTube, but it wasn't as big and we weren't doing it every day the way we are now. He told me that we're going to be all like creating videos. We're going to be all on the apps. And I didn't know what he meant. And he said, this thing, I think he showed me YouTube, that this is going to be the next thing. And he died, a couple of years after that. So I guess I stopped getting the inside scoop. But there are people that just know what's going to happen, like they can sense it. So I'm just saying, you don't have to be that much of what do you call those people? People that can see in the future. You don't have to be like that. But I'm just saying, try to keep up with the industry. And a lot of the time, the way you keep up is from looking on websites like the IIBA. Sometimes they post things, from going to sessions where there are other BAs, some sessions like these where other BAs come together and talk about the career. So those are ways that you just keep abreast, keep informed, create a network, see where we're going, and that would be helpful to make sure you're ready for what's coming in our career. All right, enough of me. I've been talking for the last couple minutes and I want to leave some time for y'all. So let's start with anybody who have questions. I'm just going to open the floor right now. It could be questions about interviewing. Could be questions about a current job you're in. It could be questions about a project you're working on. Just whatever you want to talk about. Right now, I'm just going to open it up. And anybody who have a question can go right ahead and ask their question. So I think Chantal, you had your hand up. You want to go ahead?
Yes, thank you, Karaleise, for the opportunity to ask a question.
Sure.
I wanted to ask a question on behalf of the job seekers, because yeah, this is the market is very humbling. I've been looking for about a month now. Applied to about 85 places and have gotten one interview so far. So, and I'm a business systems analyst. I have about 3 years of experience. I'm a professional business analyst. I'm the senior. My question for you is, do you have any tips on how we can set ourselves apart um, when it's becoming increasingly harder to reach an actual person in the hiring process?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the $1 million question, right? How to stand out in a crowd of sameness, in a crowd of everybody trying to get the same job. I will say that being in the job market for 1 month and having had 85 applications, that's a lot of energy that you're putting into this job hunt. So you're definitely going to have a good result. So that's good. Kudos to you for that. There are people that have been in the job hunt for a very long time and are still in there. I think so. At the Back Office Club, we just launched something we call LANBA, which is our land a BA job by the end of the year initiative, right? And we go through some of the things that we think as members I could help them to focus on so that they can make sure that they hopefully get a job. And part of it is we identified for ourselves what we call a North Star. And a North Star, if you guys are into marketing, this is the one metric that helps companies to achieve their overall goal. For example, if you're Uber, your North Star, I think it was rides per week. So if I could get more rides per week, then I make more money, then I have better, revenue, and all of the different monetary things come with that. So we identified for our BAs what we call interviews per month. That is our North Star. So if we can land more interviews, then we're likely to get more jobs. So in your case, you're not, even though it's just a month and you've put so much interviews, resumes out there, and you've only gotten one interview, that's obviously the metric you want to improve, right? To get more interviews. I will say, even though you're applying to so many jobs, even though I do agree with quantity, but I also want you to pay attention to quality, right? Because some jobs say it's business analyst, but it's not really business analyst. Like they put a lot of things in the job description, and you being a professional, I think you can identify when a job is, like more something suited to you since you're a business systems analyst too. So you have the technical background. But I think sometimes the way they word the job description is not always reflective of what the job is. And so you just end up easy apply, easy apply, easy apply. Just get it out there, for volume's sake. But I want you to also be still apply with the volume, but be very focused at some point. Like maybe pick 5 or so jobs that you're like, you know what, these jobs I can definitely land because these jobs have all the things that I've already excelled in. These are jobs that I know I could do without even having to learn anything new. And when you focus on those 4 or 5 or so jobs per week, then you can tweak the resume. So I'm not saying tweak the resume for every single job. That's way too much work. But if you can identify the ones that I really can land these, maybe you tweak the resume for those specifically. And then once you do that, if you can reach out to the recruiter and say, hey, I saw the job. I think I'm the best fit for this. I've already sent in my resume, but just wanted to give you a touch point. So not just waiting for the recruiter to reach out to you, because again, it's hard to find humans nowadays. It's a world of robots. So if you can reach out to them, if you get their contact, or if you know the company, you can try to find who's the recruiter on the company, reach out to them. Hey, I've already sent in my resume. I can send you another one, but I think I'll be the best fit for this job. See if that makes any difference, having the human touch. I do have recruiters I talk to sometimes, and I ask them, what is it that you're like looking for when you're trying to hire a BA? And a lot of them are just going to follow what the manager has told them that they should be looking for. Like they'll tell them, oh, the person needs to have experience in Jira and all the other things. But sometimes they're looking for this it's almost untouchable. It's like this quality that it's almost like a gut feeling too. Like they want to be able to talk to you and get the sense that you're the kind of person that would help them solve problems. The problem you have is that you don't get the chance to do that because you haven't been given the call. So you have to optimize the resume because the resume is going to be the only thing between you and the call. And the resume is one job. The only thing it has to do is to get the recruiter to call you. So the volume of applications is good as a metric, but if the resume isn't hitting what they're looking for, that's where you're gonna have a lot less interview possibilities, right? So the resume has to match what they're looking for, but also the resume needs to be worded, because I've seen resumes of people who are professional, who know what they're doing. They can do the job with their eyes closed. But for whatever reason, trying to put everything you've done in a few words on a piece of paper, sometimes it just doesn't come off. It doesn't come off the way that you would like it to come off. So you got to pour over that resume very regularly. You can't just create it one time and say, yeah, it's good, send it over. You got to pour over maybe once a month, go back through it. Did I learn any new skills I can add? Is there a better way for me to say this line? Can I make it any shorter? People sometimes make mistakes on their resumes, like, there's just too much stuff on there. You don't have to put every single thing you've ever done, right? We need you to put the thing that's most relevant. If you're a BA, what's most relevant? Business requirements documentation, eliciting requirements, user story writing, talking with the technical team, coming up with maybe process flow diagrams, improving processes. So those are the things that you want to show. And the earlier you can show them, the better. So if I have a resume and I want to talk about my role before, where I worked, let's say XYZ company, and I did many things at XYZ company. The things I put first, the bullet points I put first, are the business requirements document I wrote, the elicitation activities I did, how I helped to, create whatever process that they came up with. Things that show ownership, things that show that you didn't need to necessarily get help. It was more active, like you're owning it. It wasn't a collaboration all the time. Sometimes you can talk about your collaboration, but you want to show that you by yourself actually deliver these things. It's very active words, not passive words. So tweaking the resume is the biggest thing. Following up with the recruiter, and identifying a few jobs that you think you really can nail. Why do you do a little easy apply? Easy apply to everything, that's fine. But be specific about, okay, this week, did I identify maybe 3 jobs that were like a perfect fit for me? And what are those 3 jobs? And can I follow up with the recruiter on these 3 jobs? And what else can I do to try to give myself the best approach, right? Or the best likelihood of being called. Now, you don't have any control over them calling you, right? So don't beat up yourself too much. And don't be disillusioned if you're in the job market for longer than you want to be. Sometimes people are in the job market for 6 months. Right now the average is around 6 months to get a job. Last year was like a year, so it's getting better. And the other thing I wanted to say is, August is not a good time to get a new job. It can happen, but it's not really a good time. People are out on vacation in June, July, August. So HR is out, people are all over the place. They all seem to be back in September. And by September, they're like, oh, we have a project that we had to finish by the end of December. We don't have enough people. We're going to be late. We have commitment to our client. We need to get this person, get the person. We need to get somebody in here. And so they're more likely to hire you around September to try to make up for what they haven't done for the first part of the year. So just to keep the faith, okay? It's hard. It's hard out here. I know it, because I see all of these people applying and it's like, this is rough. But if you keep doing that, and some of these tips I gave you, if you apply those, I think you'll have some good results soon. Okay, thank you so much, Chantal. I hope that helped. Okay, Debbie, go ahead, Debbie. Welcome.
Hey, I just joined your group. I just found you on YouTube. Your
Oh,
videos have been amazing. Thank you. I appreciate
welcome. Yeah.
it. I'm a little. My family was kind enough to share their germs with me, so I'm sorry for what I found. I would have preferred money, but no. Anyway, my background has been in accounting, but I've been fortunate enough to dabble in business analyst roles. I've done UAT testing. I've been involved in system conversions and planning and processing. And actually, I just discovered I was my own business systems analyst because we had a self-service JIRA system. So whenever we needed, we had to go in and create all the documents. I'm like, okay, I'm good with that. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to break into the total business analyst role separate from accounting. So I know there are skills that are transferable. Yep. I'm dealing with people. Your customers are a bit different because you're dealing with accounting. Mm-hmm. So I was just wondering, is the accounting and the business analyst, is that a good changeover too?
It is, but there is a little bit of difference. So there is this lady, I don't know if you've met her, Eka. She always give she's a Nigerian who's also does business analyst stuff, and she always mentioned how she came from an accounting background. So I just remember that when you mentioned that. So the thing about accounting is, and I'm not an accounting specialist like you are, so if correct me if I'm saying anything here wrong, but there's a lot of steps that you have to follow, and you know when it's right because the books need to balance, and you can identify more quickly when something is off because this doesn't equal to that, and you didn't get this information, your ledgers are not balancing. So that's the difference. It tends to have a very procedural mindset to get the accounting right, and there's like some of the things are kind of set in stone, like you can't really invent new new ways to do it. But with the business analyst, the difference is that there is no set step, and that's a lot to wrap your mind around sometimes, because you never know if you're doing the right thing. Right? It's just an approach. This is my approach to getting here. We want to get to this goal. We're going to take these steps in the hope that we get there, but we don't know until we get there if we're there. So it's very difficult. It's a different mindset shift. But I have seen people who made that shift, right? And like you said, you've had some exposure to it, and you're starting to get warmed up to it. So that's the only difference. I would say that now becoming a BA means that you have to get comfortable with a lot of unknowns. You don't know if it's going to work. You don't even know what the requirement is. You have to try to talk to different people to figure out what they want. You have to have lots more collaboration. With you can work in silo. I know the thing that needs to happen. I need to get the data. I have the books. I get it done. I'm done. I sign it off. Somebody approves it, and that my work is delivered. With the business analyst role, you spend a lot of time just aligning on what we need to do. Right? So you end up meeting with people, talking to them. This one agree, this one don't agree. You'll never get a bunch of, especially senior leaders. You get them into a room and I have them agree on anything. If I say the wall is eggshell, somebody said no, it's cream. And somebody else have a different color. That's, I don't know, some weird beige color or something. So people don't align. So it's really about you trying to find the best case scenario in all of the different things, and getting comfortable with ambiguity, and getting comfortable with unknowns, and working through that anyway. And they look up to you as leading the charge, even though you don't know where you're going either. Right? But they just want somebody to own that. And the beauty of it is that every project is different. So you learn from each project you work on, but you can't apply the exact same step from this one to this one. So you learn the best practices, you come to this one, you apply what can be applied. And I think where you'll benefit, or you'll like, I hope you like this part, is that you can think of an idea or a better approach, and you throw it to your team, and together we kind of form it together, right? So you don't have to have the burden of, okay, this is the only way to do it, this is what I think. You just need to show up with a proposal, and the team helps to pull it together, and they'll tell you why it doesn't work or why it can work, and you pull from that all the requirements out of that, and now you have something that we all came up with together. So they're likely to approve it because they were involved in it. So it's a beautiful career, and I think it will it stretches your imagination a lot, and it helps you to really feel very proud when you've accomplished something that was initially very difficult and very unknown and very chaotic and very ambiguous, and now you can create structure, and you can see an end result, and you can see people using your new system or your new app or whatever you've built, your new process. It's very fulfilling. So I've seen people do the transition, and the main thing that they had to get over was the mindset shift, that you don't have to have the answers to get started, and you don't have to know exactly all the steps to start walking down that path. So if you can manage that change in how you think about work, and not having to know exactly what needs to happen before you start working on something, and also not working in silo. Sometimes accountants like to be by themselves with their books. Right? So if you can get used to more collaboration in almost everything you do, I think that would be a good fit for you.
Yeah, I say I have an internal geek. I said, yes, I'm going from being a numbers geek to an IT geek. But I've always had that love. I enjoy the business analyst role more than I do the accounting, actually.
Yeah, you interface with more people. You can get to, interact with more people, and you solve kind of bigger problems. You solve a lot of problems as an accountant too, but you solve wider problems in different areas of the business as opposed to just numbers. So I think that would be great. Now, in terms of starting, because you have this foundation in accounting, Um, you could leverage your experience to work with. I don't know how you feel about contract jobs or if you already have a job, but sometimes the expertise in accounting is helpful for companies that are doing a lot of financial stuff. So if you want to
Right.
focus into like a financial company or like a consulting company that does a lot of finance, like KPMG, like one of those bigger companies, or if your current job, if there is a role for a BA, maybe you could see how you're able to make a switch within your organization.
Yeah, no, I got laid off in the beginning of July. So,
Oh,
yep.
sorry to hear that.
Well, I was planning on leaving anyway. I have my master. I have an MBA in business administration with a concentration in IT, and then I just completed another bachelor's degree in business administration with a concentration in MIS,
Oh, nice. Very nice.
along with my accounting degree.
Very nice.
So, because
Are
I'm
you?
shooting for that 6-figure salary because
There
I
you
need it
go.
badly.
That's right. That's
I
right.
got to pay for this master's degree that I got.
But it's possible. It's possible. I mean, business analysts right now are making 6 figures. But I will say to you that in the last month or so, I don't know if it's because of what is happening in the economy, that I've been looking at the jobs in LinkedIn because I follow this a lot, and I've seen that there's a little bit of dip in the salary that they're advertising, like what would have been like a 135K a year last year, I'm seeing them for like 110, 115, and I'm like, what's going
Gladly
on?
accept that. I wasn't even making 80 where I was because no.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not terrible. It's not terrible, but I'm just saying that because there's more people in the job market, employers are going to try to squeeze wherever they can. So I find them squeezing a little bit of 10K or so off the top. And but still, as a BA, you should be making less than 85 if you're in the US. That's the minimum you should be making as a BA. So 6 figures is definitely doable when you have experience, but if you're starting out, you should be around 85. Sometimes they'll try to lowball you at 70, but you shouldn't be taking anything less than that. But are you opposed to contract jobs?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually a certain company with a mouse logo has a 2-year project that I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's try.
Yeah, I was about to say that sometimes it's hard to get a full-time job because of how the economy is. So if you can afford to, because some people, you're a single mom, you're the only breadwinner, you might not have that support. If you can afford to take a contract job, it could be for 3 months, could be for 6 months, but sometimes that's how they hire. They just want to get you in before they don't know what you can produce yet, so they don't want to take all the chances on you, but they hire you in a 3 months capacity, see how you work, and then they can extend it or they can give you a full-time job. So I would encourage you to also be open to that. And again, you have the experience of accounting, which is very valuable. So if you can find a BA job that leverages that accounting experience, like anything in finance or anything that has to do with just numbers in general, I think that would be a great edge for you to go in from. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, all the best, Debbie. I'm happy that you joined, and good luck out there. And if I can help in any way, let me know. All right. We got 2 more people. Go ahead. I think Mary. Mary, are you there? If you're there, you're on mute.
Yep. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome.
Thank you, Karaleise. So I'm calling from Dublin, and thank you so much for this wonderful setup.
Nice.
It's really nice, and I really appreciate it. So my question is, I've actually been an operations administrator for 8 years. So I'm looking to transition into the BA world. And then my husband has been trying to push me, and then I've been able to get some of your videos just to learn about being a BA as a newbie, something like that and so on. But honestly, I have this little fear. I don't know if it's normal, but I just have that little concern, probably because I'm moving from a very different world into a new place. So I'm trying to learn, to read, to see some videos, to learn as much as I can. But I think I still have some little drawbacks. I don't know if it's normal, if you've seen someone that has experienced that, but that's my little, it's a little concern for me. And I just wish I can break free from
what exactly is the drawback? Maybe I didn't understand.
Yeah, it's as if I'm putting myself under pressure to learn everything at a go, at once, which is probably not as easy as I thought because I'm a mom of three. But aside that, I just want to like learn as much as I can learn, get a job, and then start working, things like that and so on. But I don't know if it's normal. I don't know if it's a normal feeling, but I am really feeling that way, and
I'll
I
tell
don't
you
know.
what you're feeling. You're feeling overwhelmed. That's what you're
Yeah,
feeling.
like it's a
Overwhelmed is
new
the word.
world.
You're
Yeah,
like, I
it's a
want to
new.
do this career. It sounds great. It's a soft landing into tech. I don't have to write code. I can work with different people. I have communication skills. I know I can do it. But there's like 1,000 pathways to get in there. And I don't know which one to take. And I don't want to be down the wrong path. And then I go in the interview. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know anything. Like I thought I knew something, but now I don't know. I'm freaked
Yes,
out.
like where I'm coming from, like when I get to the office, I just do my job, do my thing, pack my bags, and go home.
Yep.
But with this job, you have to relate with people, you have to do some stakeholder interviews, things like that, having to come out from that shell. Like it's a new world to me, and I don't know if it's normal. I don't know. I don't know.
Right. And that's exactly what I think Debbie was mentioning earlier too, that when you're transitioning into the BA role, and I was trying to explain this, is the mindset of I go in, if you might have 5 or 6 things that you do in your job, right? I go in if I'm gonna do, let's say you are customer support. I don't know what you work, I'm just picking something. If they call about this particular topic, then I go here, I go here, I go here. I write this up, I send it, I submit, that's done. Somebody call about something else, this is where I go, I do that, I write up a ticket, you put it in service now, then I submit it, and I wait for it to be approved, and I do that, and I do it. So it's not repetitive, but you kind of know all the steps to do your job. Right? This is what your job is. You understand the job. It's not a factory job, but it has steps. With the business analyst role, the beauty and the pain of it is that sometimes there is no steps. Most of the time, there is no step. There is a problem, and you need to figure out how to solve this problem. And sometimes you don't even know what the problem is. What's the difference between a BA and a data analyst? What's the difference? The data analyst has data to start with. He always has data. And it's from his data, he's going to do his insights, his reports, his dashboards, all of his stuff. The business analyst does not even have data to start with. The business analyst, there's a goal that some VP wants to accomplish, and then there's a project that they came up with, and then figure it out. Okay? You got to go figure out what's the problem, how are they doing it today, what is the as-is state, what do we envision to happen in the future, how do we get from this state that we're here right now to this state we're trying to get to, what would be the best path to get there. And the good thing is you have other people on the journey with you. You have a project manager, you have your developers, you have your QA, you have all these people. So it's a team effort. So I understand the overwhelm because that's a different mindset from showing up every day and doing these steps. A different mindset. And the skills you need are different also. You need to have good collaboration skills. You need to be able to talk to people. You need to not be afraid to ask a question. Asking a question is very important. The way you do your job is by a series of questions that result in answers that lead you to the better approach, right? So you need to be able to pull people together who wouldn't normally be together to ask a question that you need to have them all answer. So I get the overwhelm. It's a mindset shift. And it's also because there's no specific path. When you're trying to learn it as a newbie, and this is what I faced, why I created the channel and why I'm doing the back office club, I was completely lost. Like what am I supposed to be doing here? The good thing for me is I kind of fell through the cracks. I went to interview for a job as one thing, and they said, you know what, we think you'd be good as a BA. And I'm like, huh? Yeah, you'll be good as a BA. And they put me in the BA role, and then I was like, oh my God, they found the thing for me. Like they literally pushed me to the place that I was going to be good at. So it helps you. So I would say for you, don't be overwhelmed, right? You have my channel, which I have a lot of free videos, but there's also still a lot there, right? You have other people's channel. You can do a boot camp. There's so many ways to get educated. There's Coursera, there's all this stuff. There's a back office club too. You can join a back office club for more structure. But I would say this, that you don't need to learn every single thing to become a BA. You have to focus on the things that will help you to get to the path of being a BA. What I find with people is that when you're new and you don't know, you go do everything. You do AWS, you do Scrum, you do Salesforce, you do all kinds of certs all over the place. But they're tangential to your career. You need to do the things that will directly affect you getting the job. You don't have to know every tools in the world. You don't have to do all of the the tableaus and all. Those are really data analysis tools. It's good to know. It doesn't hurt. Scrum is good to know. It doesn't hurt. But what do you need to do to get the job? And that's all you need. So you need to learn how to write requirements documents. You need to learn how to write user stories. You need to learn how to elicit requirements. You need to learn how to talk to stakeholders. You need to learn how to do process flow mapping. You need to understand how to transition between what the developers want and what the business wants. How do you translate those needs? Those are the things you need to be a BA to get through the interview, right? So if you just focus on those things and learn about those things, not to say you won't learn anything else, but those are the core things that you can't become a BA without knowing. And if you want more, we have a consult for that. There's a business analyst consult for interviewing that you can go to karaleise.com to find out. And we do one-on-one coaching for that. But in general, try to avoid the noise. And it's difficult to identify what is noise. Anything that's going to give you like a tangential knowledge towards the BA role is a noise. You don't need AWS right now because that's for DevOps. You don't need to do that. You don't need ServiceNow certification. It's nice to have it, but does it help you become a BA? No. So all the extra stuff, just get rid of the extra stuff and focus on the core things that you need to do in the job.
Yes, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
All right, I'm gonna take one question online. So this person, by the way, welcome everybody. We got people from Quebec here. We got people from, oh my goodness, India, London. I'm so sorry, I just got a chance to shout y'all out. Thank you for staying. So this question says, I am a BSA with a company in manufacturing sector in Canada. I am considering looking for more opportunities in the US. Do you have pointers I could? Okay. By the way, maybe y'all will become the 51st state, so it might be easier. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with U.S. politics. Oh my God, it's a crazy place. Crazy, crazy, crazy things going to the U.S. Are you sure you want to come over here right now? All right. Anyway, so if you want to get opportunities in the U.S., it's not so easy as you can hear. People who are already here still having struggles, so it's not that easy for immigrants right now who are not physically in the U.S. The politics has become quite different, if you noticed. So unless you have, first of all, you'd have to get over the legality barrier, being able to have the legal rights to work in the U.S. That's one barrier. And the second one would be even if you get the company to sponsor you, it's not as often that they sponsor. And I find they sponsor a lot more engineers, like they'll sponsor developers or like really specific people. I don't see them sponsoring a lot of BAs. It could happen, maybe they do, but I don't. I see a lot of more developers and really highly specialized coding being given H-1B visas to work here. You could consider. I don't know if you have opportunities to migrate here. But if you do, then it takes a little bit of time, depending on what your situation is, to get the legal rights to work, and then you can do that. But there's also remote work. A lot of companies do still offer remote work, but I just don't know if you still have to meet certain legal requirements. So there's a lot of challenges right now between getting a job here. But if you're a freelancer, let's say you don't have to be an employee, like a full-time employee, you could be a freelancer and you just give them like a 1099 or something like that. That can happen. But you'd have to find a way for them to hire you, right? Unless you're a part of like a consulting company, that you'd be a freelancer for the consulting company. So there are ways around it, that's what I'm saying. But if you're looking for a full-time traditional job, you have to overcome the legality problem. Other than that, you'd have to offer freelance services and be able to get a company to purchase your freelance services. There's options like Upwork, and this is for everybody actually, not just people in Canada. You can put a gig on Upwork, offer your service on Upwork, or even like the gig economy, Fiverr. People want you to write user stories. They want you to maybe create documents for them. It's not as popular as other things like, people doing YouTube videos or editing a video. Those are the most popular things. But maybe there are people out there who want some project support. I often find that they do post jobs on Upwork that are more professional jobs like the ones that we have, but they may not know how to call it business analyst. They call it project specialist, or they call it help with a project, or help with building a software. So it's difficult to search and find it because you're not using those keywords. But you can scour it if you have some time, go through and see, oh, this actually is kind of what I do. And then you can reach out to that person. But the thing about Upwork is that you have to bid. You have to bid against other people. So in no place can you just go in and get it, right? You always have to fight against other people. And hopefully they'll choose you if you make the right bid. So that's another option to do freelance work. Okay. Let's see. We're at time. I can take one more question. Yeah, go ahead, Kay. Welcome. How are you?
I'm fine. First of all, thank you so much for giving up your time and just doing everything that you're doing. I recently ended a boot camp, Skills Hat, wonderful boot camp. And my background is in education. I've been a teacher for 15 years. And I'm trying to make the transition. They're excellent with trying to help us with trying to find a job, but I guess I'm having that imposter syndrome moment. And then also, I was told, like in the resume, like you said, just only put things that's applying to BA work. But all I have is a boot camp, and then I guess taking my skills from teaching and then trying to, I guess, to format it to be applicable to BA work. But I was told just to put like business analyst, don't put teacher, like to get an interview, and then put my skills of what I've worked on that might be applicable. So what are your thoughts on that? And
it's always a very difficult thing in your first role, getting your first role as a BA, because you have to convince the employers to give you a chance over somebody else. But you also don't want to completely invent a new resume that you can't defend, right? So that's the challenge. And it's a very widespread problem. I think everybody who is coming into the field has the same thing. Like, okay, Karaleise, I don't have any experience. What do I say? And the easiest thing that people come up with is, I'm just going to put whatever I can put on the resume and I'll deal with it when I get in the interview. But the challenge is that sometimes you go into the interview and they ask you about the stuff. And even though you've done the boot camp, the practical knowledge might be missing. And then you don't get to the interview and you get disillusioned and you feel like, oh my goodness, am I ever going to become a BA? And you feel like defeated because you spent the money in the boot camp, you spent the time, you spent the energy, and now you're like, oh, I need to have results right away. So I understand it completely. I would say from a teacher to a BA, there are common things with that. With a teacher, what age group did you teach, if you don't mind?
2nd through 6th grade, but I've done everything from 2nd to 12th grade, language arts, social studies, everything but math.
Okay.
Right now, PE.
So definitely have patience. You have a lot of patience, right? Because the kids, they do test you. I have one. I have a 10-year-old and she does test me. But yeah, so you learn how to coordinate, because you have to coordinate these kids. You have to learn how to make plans, like lesson plans. You have to get those approved. You have to go through the process. So there are some common things that you have with teaching and training in general. I think trainers to BAs make a good transition because they're in the habit of discussing and having feedback and figuring out what it is that they need to deliver. So you have that elicitation kind of innately already. So you do have these skills. The challenge you have is, what do you put on the resume to get the job? I would say that if you have done anything administrative that's not just outside of the classroom work, that may be more aligned with the BA role. Like, say if there's any work that you did with other teachers or any association you created at the school or any documentation that you had to create for the board, or I'm not sure what the world of a teacher includes, but those are the things I would pull on. And I would be more framing it into training. And some of it, I don't think you have to hide your full background of being a teacher, to be honest with you, because people transition all the time. It's just the last role that you have needs to have something more structured towards business analysis. And you can put some of your case studies that you worked on, or use those case studies for storytelling that you worked on in the boot camp. You can write some of the things that you've delivered. Like maybe I don't know if you guys delivered a capstone project or anything like that in your boot camp, but you need to show artifacts that you have been able to create that are business analyst artifacts. I personally don't like inventing things for the resume. I think you don't have to, but I do understand the challenge that okay, if I put teacher, I'm not going to get a call because they're not going to see the alignment. So what I want you to do is to put the things that are are from your experience, but you can rephrase them and tweak how way you talk about them in the BA space and put that on the resume. Does that make sense to you? Like, for example, I don't know if there may be things that you're doing only in the classroom, but do you do anything else that's not only just teaching in the classroom? Do you do anything administrative? Are you working with the PTA? Are you doing anything with the principal? Is there any documentation you create? Any meetings that you have to organize? Any collaboration that you needed to do? Any documentation or reports you created? Like all of those things are business analyst things. So
Okay.
so think deeply about it, right? The assessments that you had to write up, the way that you are grading, the evaluation metrics that you're using, coming up with those. Maybe there's a process that the school was doing that you had to improve. You could still stay within the realm of education, but it's the process improvement you helped with, the documentation you helped with, the reporting you helped with. Um, Maybe if there's any dashboard you had to create so you could help make better decisions with the leadership team. Those are things that are lending themselves to being a good BA. Eliciting requirements like talking to teachers and seeing what it is that they are doing now that could be better improved, changing the process to improve it. It could be as simple thing as the way that we were dropping off kids in the morning was a good process. You know, we ended up backup lines and people did that, and I invented this new process to help doing that, and kids could now go on whatever new process, and they would update. The parents get updates, or we put a tag in the car so you can know which parent is which kid. I don't know. There's things that could be improved, even in education. I don't know if you did any of those, but those are the kinds of stories that they want to hear. Actually, employers like to hear refreshing stories from a different industry and how business analysis applies even there. So it doesn't always have to be tech stories from you building an application. It could be a process improvement story that you can tell. It could be a documentation that you increased or improved. It could be a reporting that helped the principal and the school board to make better decisions about the school. It could be any of those things. How could you apply business analysis to education? And if there's anybody in this call who's a BA that made a transition and you want to jump in with any advice for her, then that would be welcome too. But those are the kind of things that you want to put at the first bullet points of your resume. And also because you're new, if your resume gets to a recruiter, and this is for everybody actually, you want your professional summary to be very, very on point. I find a lot of people put too much stuff on their professional summary that's not helpful. Like, for
Okay.
example, I have 5 years of experience. I've worked in this and this and this. They'll figure that out when they read the rest of the resume. This professional experience is the only thing they probably read in full. So it's one paragraph. It actually replaces your cover letter. So what can you tell them that would be impressive? That will let you stand out. Telling them you have 5 years of experience, they'll figure that out. That everybody tells them that. What can you say? How you personally is going to help them with their problem. That's what they want to hear. So I would challenge you to think about the best way to be creative is on that professional summary piece. Don't make it sound like everybody else's. Right? Speak to something more personal that you're personally bringing that will make you different from everybody else. So yeah. Hopefully all of that was helpful.
It was. Thank you so much.
All right, cool. And if anybody wants to do a consult, I do have consultation for one-on-one help on my karaleise.com website, and you can also join the Back Office Club for more regular training. Okay, we're all the time. Does anybody have, I have 2 more questions I need to answer. So on the idea board, I'm going to read through what we have on the idea board. That's pasted in the chat. So what's going well? We have some good stories. Currently, I am solo taking case studies from Karaleise to sharpen my skills. Yay! I'm always happy when people find my case studies helpful. You can find them on karaleise.com, and you can find them on YouTube with the videos I make from them. So feel free to practice with the case studies I put out there. Other person says, I have a certificate of business analysis business analyst from a polytechnic. Do I have to get a certification in business analysis to get started? Also, it's difficult to get a job in the field as all ads want experience and certification. Yeah, this is the age-old problem, chicken and egg. I need you to have experience in order to give you the job, but in order for you to get the experience, you need to get the job. So who comes first, the chicken or the egg? It's very painful. But I want to tell you that this has been a universal problem that we have all gone through. Every person who has left college had to solve this problem. Some people solved it by nepotism. They have a family member who will give them a job to get started. Some people started by starting a lower job and then working their way up. That's what most of us did. And most of us, we were just putting resumes out there. We were not like getting help from somebody that we knew. We were just hopefully just blanketing out there, and hopefully somebody would find us, and somebody did. So it's a difficult problem that we've had from the beginning of the workforce. So don't feel alone that you feel overwhelmed with this. How do you get the experience if nobody will give you the experience? So part of experience is, like you've heard from the ladies on this call, you may have experience in something else. You have professional experience. You just don't have business analyst experience. So you don't have to qualify that at the beginning. Do you have 10 years of experience? Yeah. I have 10 years working in a field. Okay? Because sometimes you will never get in the room if they ask you to fill that out and you don't fill it out. And now, I'm not an advocate for telling lies on your resume, but I do believe that you can bend the rules a little bit for your own benefit. So work experience versus business analyst experience is different, right? You have work experience. You've worked before, hopefully. And then they're asking for experience and certifications. I don't find that they're asking for a lot of certifications, to be honest with you. And anybody on this call can tell me, agree with me or not. I don't find a lot of employers saying you have to have a CBAP to get this job, or you have to have ECBA. They would probably say it's preferable, or they might say, this would be an advantage, but they're not asking you to come with the certificate. I don't find that. The only place I see asking for certificate is Canada, Ontario to be specific. And that's because that's where the IIBA headquarters is. So they've done a good job in Ontario to get all the employers to recognize the CBAP, but they haven't done a good job the rest of the world. So nobody's like holding, fire to your feet to have certifications. You can get them for your own knowledge, but it's not going to be a big influence on you getting the job. So I disagree with that. So I think you have to change your mindset. That's the first thing. You can do it. You have to think that you can do it. And it is difficult because a lot of people got laid off and a lot of people are in the job market now. So it is more difficult, more competition. But if you update your resume, you do the volume of applications, and like I mentioned earlier to Chantal, even though your volume, you're giving a lot of applications out there just randomly, try to identify at least 3 or 4 for the week that you say, okay, definitely nail these, and then you target those, updating the resume to match those, reaching out to the recruiter for those, and trying to make sure that while you're applying, you're also getting practical knowledge. Because if that interview turns up and they do call you back, when you go in the interview, you got to nail it because you're not getting a second chance. People are failing the interview for very simple things. Simple things. People are rambling in the interview. We talked about this at the Back Office Club, and we've had a good session before we came up with that. I told you earlier, LANBA, which is landing a BA job by the end of the year. Before we came up with that project, we identified what were some of the big challenges that was happening with just interviewing in general. And a lot of people are rambling in the interview. You're not giving any confidence that you know how to do the job. So even if the resume gets you the call, you fumble the call. Can't fumble the call. You won't get another one. So you have to see every interview as being like top production. If you ever wanted to be the center of attention, you are the center of attention on the interview. Okay? You are Beyonce on stage. Right? You're going to be performing. You're going to be hitting it. So you have to make sure, even though you've done your boot camp or whatever education you've done, that you actually understand how to do interviews. And that's why I have the consultation for you for that. But making sure that you have energy. You speak with authority. You know what you're talking about. You're not and arming, and you're thinking on your feet is a skill. Sometimes you don't know how to think on your feet because you've never been a BA. So they ask a difficult question like, tell me about a time when a stakeholder changed their mind and how did you help to get them back aligned? You're stuck. You're like, I don't, how, what? You're stuck. Interview's over. You're done. Right? Right? Because these are things that they require you to think. So by you doing the case studies while you're applying, you're getting your feet ready. You're getting the ability to think through doing the case studies, and hopefully that will help you to have the muscle or the muscle memory to use those examples in your answers, right? Because they don't want a robot. They want to use a robot to interview you, but they don't want you to be a robot. They want you to think. They want to know they're getting an analyst. That's why it's business analyst, right? So you have to be prepared for the interview too. And some people are making some silly mistakes with the interview. Practice the interview, do mock interviews, know how to answer difficult questions. I have a whole series on YouTube on difficult questions. See how I answer those, practice those. Identify companies that you'd like to work for and kind of stalk them. Like if you're the example from Debbie who want to do accounting, maybe you can identify some accounting companies, see if they have BA roles, and just keep checking their website. If there's anything opens up, reach out to their recruiters. Hey, I'm looking for a job. I really love to work with your company specifically because I have so much experience in accounting. And as a business analyst, I think it would be a perfect blend for my business analysis skill and my accounting skills. Just want to make you know that I'm very interested in that. And if something comes up, if you would be willing to let me know, or I'll whatever you can say. Don't plagiarize me right now. I'm not saying the right words, but in general, you want to see who would be a good company to work with in your field, maybe in your area, and just check them out. Sometimes you'll be surprised the jobs that they haven't advertised, and you might be able to get one. It's a lot of work. Just set your mindset that you're going to be doing a lot of work and not getting any money. You're working. The interview process is like you're having a job to find a job. And it's like you never get paid for it. So it's really frustrating. But this is what you're going to have to do, right? Applying for, 50 jobs or so per month, maybe. I mean, people are doing more than that. But the emphasis on the certs. And when you go in the interview, not to say you won't mention your certs, you can mention them, but don't think the cert is what's going to get you the job. It's the practice. The practice is what's going to get you the job. So all of those things hopefully will pull you through. All right, this other person says, once in a while, can you share entry-level or internship opportunities to help upcoming BAs like me build hands-on experience and confidence for the job? So I periodically review LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my main source for jobs and job data. I periodically review LinkedIn, different cities, different countries, just to see what's going on in the BA field. And I'm not saying this is all the time, but I very rarely encounter a junior BA role. Very rarely. And even more rare to encounter an internship. I might see one or two, but it's not a lot, to be honest with you. So the hope that you'll find a junior BA role and then be able to understudy somebody, I'll tell you the reason why. Because as I was explaining earlier, it's an analytical role. So they're looking for somebody who can jump in and start doing things. They're not looking to train you up because it's harder to train you to be a BA because it's really your analysis skills. So you almost need to be working before in some other thing to be able to have the analysis skills that they're looking for. And they're paying you a lot of money. You're coming in at 70, 85K. They don't have time to pay a junior person that amount, right? If you're coming in junior, they're going to pay you less than that for sure. But in general, because you're starting out at a middle management level, that's why there's not a lot of junior roles, because you're kind of starting out middle management. So you have to have the ability to run meetings, the ability to see, spot issues within a process, the ability to say, no, I don't think we should do this, and try to get the team to see something that maybe they don't know. You're going to be the person trying to stop the scope creep, right? So they need a level of maturity that it's difficult to get in a junior person. And that's why there's not a lot of junior roles. I'm just trying to be very frank with you that there's not a lot. However, you could get a job just as a BA. I would say for everybody who's new starting out, BA. Not senior BA, not lead BA, not principal BA. Just BA would be the equivalent of just the starting point. But it's very difficult to find junior BA. You can find some, but it's more rare. And if you find some, go right ahead and apply right away, because that's not going to last for long, because they typically there's not a lot of jobs that are junior. So if there is, I mean, I don't promise to be able to share it because I'm not always looking at LinkedIn, or even by the time I share it, it might already be gone. So I would say I would leave that one up to you to scour that. I think LinkedIn does have a way for you to get alerted whenever a job within your area comes up, I think, or the category you're looking for. So you can set up like a rule for LinkedIn to alert you. I think that would be a better way to get that. Okay, I was promoted from junior BA. Well, here's a person that was junior BA. That's good. To intermediate BA. Thanks for being a big part of my journey. I started the job in January 2024, BA bootcamp, and your videos were my training. No on-the-job training or understudy. Okay, so you were just out there in the sea swimming. They just threw you in the sea, huh? But you did well, so that's good. I'm happy that my videos could help you, so that's awesome. All right, what's blocking you? Nobody had anything that's not going well. They had what's going well, and then they have blockers. So for this person, they said, I need a community to build my hands-on experience, develop my confidence, and also need a job to fully launch in. However, finance has not let me join the back office club. Can anything be done to assist me for now? Thank you for your support. Okay, so we have different tiers. So the back office club is definitely what you need. This is the only program I know of on the internet that gives you a regular touch point. So we meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays for stand-up. Stand-up is just a session that we come together, we talk. It's kind of like this, but shorter. And if you have a specific question about an interview you're going for, or you have a problem that you want to solve in the BA space, we talk about that. On the Tuesday session, we talk to people who already have a job. And on the Thursday, we talk to people who are in the job hunt to keep you encouraged and to help you, in your job hunt. So there's that. And then we have Wednesday sessions where we train you on a particular topic. Like, for example, last Wednesday, we talked about, well, not last, the last session we talked about process flow diagrams, and we work on case studies from real projects. So Wednesday, when we meet on Wednesday, we're going to be going through a case study that was given to somebody for an interview and see how were you supposed to answer these questions. Because the BA interview is not always just show up for the interview. You may show up for the interview and they say, okay, here's a problem. Come back and tell me how you would solve it. Bring the presentation, show me the artifacts that you've created, show me how you talk through this. So they give you a case study as a part of the interview. And they want you to present to a panel of people. And the panel is going to ask you rapid fire questions too to make sure you understand it. So we go through some of those case studies at the back office club. We're doing that one on Wednesday. So for this person, this would be great because you get hands-on experience, you get from real projects, you get the community. And then we have tools. So you have Slack, which is our instant messaging. You have access to our Jira. Now you can get your Jira free. There's a free version. But on our Jira, we have all the projects, all the artifacts, examples of the user stories, example of how you work on projects, example of your epics, all that stuff. And then we have Confluence, where you have examples of the documentation you create, and you practice how to do those things on those tools as well, so your hands get dirty. That's what we do at the back office club. So you get the tools, you get the systems, you get the support, you get documentation, and you also get my expertise, right? So that's a very good package. So we have 3 tiers. So you should be able to afford one of these. The first one is basic, that's $49 a month. The next one is essential, which is $89. And the other one is professional, which is $197 a month. I think they're still all fairly reasonable prices for what you're getting. And the differences between them is the number of sessions that you'll be able to attend and also the tools that you get access to. So with our membership comes premium access to all the tools. Premium access to Jira, premium access to Confluence, premium access to Slack. We use Figma also for our design. So you don't have to pay for subscription for these other tools because it's a part of the back office club. And it's not empty. It has all the data and the examples and the projects and the stuff that you can use. So I think it's a good investment. And I think if you really want a hands-on experience and you want to work on real projects from real companies, That would be a great place to practice. So that when you show up in the interview, you're armed with stories. It's all about the stories in the interview. How can you tell the best story? They show up to you and ask you, okay, tell me about a time when two stakeholders disagreed. How did you help them? You need a story, right? A story that's related to the business analyst world. Or tell me about when you're working on a sprint and something has changed in the sprint that you're already working on. How would you handle it? Right? The boot camp didn't prepare you for those things, did it? So you need to make sure that you have good stories and you've practiced enough so that you can tell these stories to impress the interviewers. So that's what the Back Office Club helps you with. So take a look at it at backofficeclub.org. All right, we're over time, and I'm happy that you guys still stayed. Somebody asked, do you have UK-based members? Yes, we have members in the UK and we have members in Spain. So we have 2 time zones, mainly for the European time zone and for the US time zone. So we have members that have been able to join from the UK. So don't worry about time zone. We have the same sessions. We have it twice. So you can join the one that applies to you. And they're all live sessions. So there's recording. If you can't make it, you can watch a recording. But we tend to do live so you can get a live interaction. And when I'm doing online courses, as much as I'm motivated, sometimes it just gets boring. Because you're just watching and watching and watching. And it's like, I have a question. Who do I ask? Then they tell me to go to some Facebook group. And I go to the Facebook group and there's a ton of people in there and I ask a question. And it's just the students answering me back. And I'm like, I want the tutor. I want the person who knows, the expert to answer my question. And I can't get that. So that's every time I have a problem, I build a solution to solve it. That's what the Back Office Club solves. That you have a question, here's a person you can ask. You can ask in the chat, real time, or you can ask in person, so that you don't sit with your problem and you're unsure about how to approach it, and you don't have anybody to ask. So that's the benefit. Okay. We're going to wrap up now because we're well over time, almost a half an hour over. But I had fun talking to y'all today. Wasn't this awesome? Right?
Very nice.
We do it once a month and we make it special. But I think that it's really a great way to start the month off, isn't it? It's a wonderful way to get motivated, get energized. I think everybody on this call, if your goal is to get a job, I think you can get it for sure. You just have to put a little more creativity, imagination a little bit in your application process. There's a lot of competition. There's a lot of, it's very easy to be disheartened. But I think if you keep, updating your knowledge, right? You update your vocabulary, how you speak. You do the things in terms of updating your resume. Every week you review the resume, make sure you're saying the right things on there. You apply, you reach out. I think that you will have good results. And don't be afraid of contract jobs, okay? Sometimes you have to take them just to get your foot in the door and take a contract for now and figure it out later, right? But I have lots of goodwill for everybody on the call. And if you need to reach out to me, you can always send me an email or you can find me on IG. I need some more IG followers over there. Right? But I thoroughly enjoy hanging out with you guys once a month on the first Monday of every month, taking your questions, giving you some answers, hopefully giving you some energy and some motivation as well. And I want all of y'all to join as business analysts. I want all of y'all to become business analysts because I enjoy the career. And I think it's a great career. And I need to train up the people coming up behind me. The people who don't have as much experience as me. What am I going to do with all this knowledge, right? I can't just take it with me. I need to open your brains and send it in there, right? All of us making 100K more per year. Imagine your life. You're making more than 100K a year, okay? We can do it. So I want to see good results and I want to hear some good stories. So I look forward to that. And I will see all of y'all next month. In September.
Will the call be, because the first of the Monday is Labor Day, will it be that day or the following?
Oh, it's a Labor Day. No, I take my holidays. So it'll probably be the week after. Because it has to be on a Monday. So it'll probably be the week after. Yeah. Well, all right, guys. Thank you so much for joining, everybody. Thank you. Take care.